Hey neighbor, welcome back to Ranked. My name is John, and in this video, I'll be weighing the pros and cons of Canadian pop rock princess Avril Lavigne's discography by ranking all of her albums from worst to best. Avril made her debut in 2002 with the multi-platinum seller Let Go, and remains active and popular to this day. Obviously, we're never gonna see the best damn thing levels of success ever again, but we're looking at an important pop zeitgeist who crossed into the mainstream by refusing the typical pop star treatment. This ranking is obviously just my take on her work. You might completely disagree with it, or maybe it'll surprise you. Who knows? That's the crazy thing about having an opinion. What I do know is that not hitting the like button is what someone who definitely is not a skater boy would do, so act accordingly, and let's open our books to chapter 7.
Fell in love with the devil. Now I'm in trouble. I fell in love with the devil. I'm underneath the spell.
When people said they wanted a more mature Avril, I sincerely hope this wasn't what they wished for, because Head Above Water is a wasteland of faux inspirational cliches set to music that's rarely more than waiting room background noise. Life hasn't been entirely kind to Avril, and I'm not sitting here to be a complete dick to her as a person for no reason, but she delivered an album after a years-long battle with Lyme disease. Is it wrong to expect at least a sliver of artistic depth that tries to put us in her point of view? I just don't think it's unfair to really want more from her than lyrical nothings lifted from the recycling bin. Tepid songwriting sinks the ship, with some of the notable offenders coming in the bizarrely out-of-place Dumb Blonde featuring a throwaway verse Nicki Minaj probably pulled out of her Notes app trash can, along with the Olympic swimming pool of cringe Love Me Insane, and the assault of Hallmark card cheesiness found in Souvenir. As much as I love Birdie for flying out of this black hole and being its own thing with some really nice guitar work, I have to put this album way down in the F tier.
When it's you and me, we don't need no one to tell us who to be. We'll keep turning up the radio.
Can a hurricane really provide a good, stable home to a batch of songs? No, it cannot. For starters, why the hell is this album even self-titled? That's just the tip of the iceberg with the problems, but it kind of tells you Avril's self-titled is going to be a hodgepodge mess of ideas without directly even saying it. From a mixing and mastering POV, what a nightmare, man. This album's total inconsistencies actively work against the greater good, making some strange decisions such as allowing Hello Kitty a platform. There was a time in my life when I didn't mind Hello Kitty, and I still don't hate it in the way that most people seem to, but God, is it tacky! And tacky is really a good word for the entire experience, like the Marilyn Manson collab, for example. Who the fuck thought it was a good idea to make Avril sound like she was recording vocals for the chorus from the next room? Her team made sure to tap hard into framing Avril as this very relatable figure on a pedestal, but instead she comes across like a Barbie that's being dressed up for every occasion. The dance floor, the heartbreak, the beach, the road trip, the recovery, it's a mixtape of bubbly thoughts that unfortunately have very little to make them undeniably hers. 3 key songs make this album bearable: 17, Rock and Roll, and Let Me Go. 17 is hella underrated. The way it beams lovesick nostalgia from her rose-colored glasses is basically a superpower. Rock and Roll loads up plenty of earwormy ammunition to make this a stadium-ready chanter, and Let Me Go warps to another world assisted by Nickelback's Chad Kroeger and sees the two artists delivering a hauntingly emotional ballad that's absolutely among her best. With that being said, I still gotta put this in the D tier. It's far from being horrible all the time, but it can be insufferable, stagnant, and forgettable, with many of her own fans admitting that the self-titled era was the literal definition of a mixed bag. Intense nostalgia for 2000s pop punk fueled a wave of try-hard copycats in the early 2020s. It's not entirely a bad thing, it's dope to see guitars getting the spotlight again, but Avril's return to the genre sums up the core issue better than my words ever could. Of course, Avril sounds killer with a full band behind her rocking out, but if you don't push yourself to work with artists and producers other than the biggest cliche offenders in the game, results will vary. But the album is fun, it's not supposed to be deep. That's the #1 defense this album gets, and it's a bad hill to die on, because in case I haven't been clear, Fun music is not outlawed over here at ARTV. It's just that fun, at least to me, isn't just sitting around spouting off generic buzzwords over power chords to try and capture the audience of a new generation while appeasing the day ones too. Love Sucks gets its biggest win from the music, as most of it from a purely instrumental perspective is fine, and occasionally it's actually pretty damn fun. Immature writing leads to gimmicky vocal takes that occasionally have too much auto-tune, and some really odd performances that just don't sound like they should be coming from someone who's a 37-year-old adult. Kiss Me Like the World is Ending is basically young adult dystopian fanfic, while F You will test every last drop of your patience, but that's nothing compared to the infinity gauntlet of cringe Love It When You Hate Me featuring Black Bear. So many of these songs end way too quickly, which is extremely frustrating, since even the album's best moment, All I Wanted with Mark Hoppus, would have benefited from a longer runtime. Love Sucks is going straight to the C tier. It's listenable, occasionally awful, sometimes fun, definitely all over the place, but I can at least appreciate the good band-driven energy, walk away with Bite Me, All I Wanted an Avalanche, let the rest slide back down the mountain.
That's why I smile. It's been a while since every day everything's felt is fine.
Innocuous shuffled, and somewhere in the middle comes Goodbye Lullaby, tucked directly between her biggest mainstream album ever and a total train wreck. People tend to forget about this album for some reason, maybe because it took a long time to come out, or maybe the singles didn't light up the airwaves like they did before, but that still doesn't mean that this album is a total slog to get through. Avril tends to lean pretty heavily on piano-driven adult contemporary, standing tall even when the instrumentals leave a lot to be desired. Her collaborators back the sonic direction into a corner, especially in the slow-moving back half, rarely matching the poise shown by the album's cornerstone tracks like Smile and Push. Not Enough is a major exception, taking time out to let Avril belt in hypnotizing fashion. I Love You is pretty cute too, but there's a fine line between that and the disconnect felt between the pen and the paper, staining moments like For Real and Everybody Hurts with the taste of cheese. I'll put it in the C tier. I don't have a ton to say about Goodbye Lullaby. It's a little bit sleepy, some songs like Alice stand out way more than others, but at the end of the day, it's Avril's best album this side of 2010.
It's so hot, make me wanna talk. It's so ridiculous, I can barely stop. I can hardly breathe, you make me wanna scream. You're so fabulous, you're so good to me.
The Best Damn Thing is often considered Avril Lavigne's sellout album because of the cheerleader chanting, bubblegum pop punk persona she adopted. It's almost unbearably bratty, like a little sister that won't stop following you around singing at the top of her lungs. So why the funk is it so endearing at the end of the day? Despite the unwelcome addition of a certain doctor helping with the songwriting and production, I actually love a pretty decent chunk of this LP. Chaotic is a good adjective for The Best Damn Thing. Avril's bouncing off the walls with a pink pixie girl energy 60% of the album, with the rest of that space being dedicated to calmer waters like ballads and reflections on heartache and loss. Unabashed mainstream friendly pop isn't a deal breaker for me if it's done well, and that's exactly what they zeroed in on. Girlfriend opens the record with a major sweet tooth addiction with that call and response mentality, Hot kills with some irresistible vocal layering to make it that much hookier, and Keep Holding On is a genuinely inspirational ballad that puts her later years album closers like Warrior to shame. The album boasts a huge flash of Blink-182 influence, with Avril going as far as recruiting Blink's own drummer Travis Barker to drum on a handful of the tracks, and his stamina really helps propel the punkier cuts I Don't Have to Try and I Can Do Better to the top. Let's put album 3 in the B tier. I give props for production, it still sounds pretty ace despite the personnel changes. Avril killed it in the vocal booth, although I'd love to toss some of those trash lyrics right out the window, and the band is very much still a part of this album in a way that her next few would definitely not see.
Why do you have to go and make things so complicated? See the way you're acting like you're somebody else gets me frustrated.
You'd be surprised at how many people just blindly shove Let Go all the way up to the #1 spot in Avril's discography without even really stopping to think about it. We're brainwashed into thinking nothing can touch this since it's her most popular, but I found myself thinking of the similar phenomenon between Let Go and the album Hot Fuss by the Killers, and that they both have 4 iconic singles loaded into the front half, with the back half of the album often getting swept under the rug. It's still a really good listen, but it's not necessarily a great full-length experience thanks to a string of tracks that really make Let Go feel its age way harder than I'd previously remembered. And yes, I'm looking directly at you, My World and Nobody's Fool. Those are outliers, and I still think the record sounds full of life thanks to the potent production that really lets her voice soar. Minus a few clunky lines, Anything But Ordinary still feels like a page ripped straight from a teenager's diary. Mobile remains a persistent banger, and I really dig the album closer, Naked, for the way it neatly closes the book on a chapter of Avril's life. But God knows we're beating around the bush here. The first 4 tracks are insanely good and get talked about the most for a reason. The post-grungy angst that Losing Grip delivers has me salivating for more every time. Complicated breezes through with more hooks than a fishing boat. Skater Boy rips with dominant guitars and a cautionary tale of not judging someone based on their looks. And then the crown jewel of Avril's throne, I'm With You. This song means more to me than I can even comprehend. As a teenager, it kind of felt like vindication for all of those anxious thoughts crowding my head, and as an adult, it serves as a reminder that someone out there will eventually make it all worthwhile, and when you find the person that truly sees you for you, stick with them. Even though it's far from perfect, I'm gonna have to put this up in the A tier still. It's a totally magnetic debut that lit up the world like fireworks. It started a movement and influenced an entire generation of musicians who were inspired by this album, much like Avril herself being inspired by Jagged Little Pill.
Memories of love to me just fade away. All this time you were pretending, so much for my happy ending.
Give it up for a young artist who saw their own potential in the mirror and totally owned it. Every ounce of Under My Skin feels authentic and perfectly imperfect. A true testament to Avril stepping up to be fully involved in every aspect of her sophomore album's writing and recording process. Her 2004 album doesn't feel like it was released in a rush, cause you know what they say, your whole life to write the debut, a year to write the next one, but this didn't faze the Canadian superstar. She took the time to make album 2 even better than the first. After enlisting the help of well-known rock producers like Butch Walker and Don Gilmore, Avril was able to nail this potent combo of darker, harder-hitting post-grunge with sunnier pop melodies. Punchy guitars break the pop norms by commanding your attention as they fixate on amplifying Avril's voice while owning the spotlight in their own way. Everything flows together remarkably well, but at the same time, Under My Skin pulls out a variety of styles with varying levels of emotion. If you're looking for more serious and mature moments, then put a highlighter on the teary-eyed ballad Slipped Away or the catchy but loud and clear warning Don't Tell Me. Or you could shift gears into the wonderfully down-to-earth by blasting Freak Out, a total windows-down bop, or He Wasn't in all of its starry-eyed, rocked-out naivety. The singles absolutely slap, the album itself has fun without losing the bigger picture, and the deep cuts are forgotten gems, and yes, I am also actually talking about the song Forgotten, which is criminally overlooked. It's bone-chilling good, with some of the most intense vocals and kaleidoscopic instrumentation Avril's backing band ever delivered. Nothing but the best for the motherfucking princess. We're going S tier, Under My Skin, all the way, without a doubt her best full album experience. If you've seen my CD collection video, you probably could have predicted the top 3, but anyways, I want to know, how would you guys rank Avril's discography? Hit the comments with your take and any thoughts that you had on my ranking. Please smash that like button on your way out, and feel free to check out some more of my Avril videos that are floating on screen now, including my top 10 songs for her. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon on ARTV.